and a club, or a youth club, I would call it. We have at least, like I would say, 200 members, 100 of those members paying, okay? So we have people who come to our space who are actually not real members, they just show up sometimes, and we call the problem the hippie problem. Okay? So how do we deal with the hippie problem? What happens if a guy just only shows up because he wants to smoke weed or whatever else, okay? So, pardon? Yeah, of course, yeah. You smoke the weed and you play Nintendo. And you're really bad playing Nintendo when you're on weed. I have to tell you, we don't have a problem for that. A problem-solving like thing. It's a highly social problem, and I think what's back there?
Sorry.
Apple. They are cultists. Yeah.
What?
Okay. So, I mean, I only can say that if you want to create a hack space, it really depends on how big it is, how many people are there, and what is your special purpose. I mean, the Meta Lab in Vienna is a mixture between a youth club and a hack space. So we have different problems than, for example, NYC Resistor. I mean, we have around 200 people or even more coming to our space. NYC Resistor, 28 members. And they're handpicked. There's a whole world between. Of course, we do cool stuff at Meta Lab, and there's cool stuff happening at NYC Resistor. But you can imagine there are completely different problems concerning trust in both. What's that? Ah! More! It's a PDF! So,
let this be a future lesson to you. Never let your last speaker be a performance artist.
I am not. I'm a scientist. So, but may I introduce to you, that's Astera. She's also part of the Meta Lab.
You know, the 10th most common problem I had was the hacker problem, but ever since I came, coming to this conference, people have asked me a lot, we don't have any central collaboration space. There are all these hacker spaces. It would be great if we had something like the Hackerspace Village, online. Well, the Meta Lab has hackerspaces.org. It's an incredible resource. The Hackerspace mailing list that all of the hackerspaces that are here are going to be on is at hackerspaces.org. Let's give a huge round of applause for the Meta Lab for getting that going. That's awesome.
Hello, I'm sorry. I'm from the Meta Lab, that's true, but I have to correct that last point. Actually, Hackerspaces is not driven by one organization, but rather by a collaborative of, thanks Johannes, a collaborative of people involved in Hackerspaces. There's also Joel standing behind the Hackerspaces movement. And basically, it is a platform for hackerspaces that still exist to come together, to share their knowledge, to share their experiences, and to pass that experience on to people that want to build a hackerspace, or that maybe do not yet want to build one, or do not yet know that they want to build one, but at some point have to build one. Because the hackerspaces culture we have now is maybe 1.37% of what could be the whole movement and what should be the whole movement, because we are generating information and sharing information that leads in some way to freedom of thought, and therefore is a democratic thing we have to pull off. So what I will show you now, besides the logo and besides my background,
nice
is our homepage, because Wi-Fi just started to work again. Yes.
Yeah, clap. We have internet again. Yeah.
Okay, I have everything on tabs. Okay, so this is the starting page of hackerspaces.org. Actually, by now, pretty much all of you should have a flyer that looks like this and explains what we do on the backside. We have a claim, yay, which says build, unite, multiply, and which means basically that we build a platform as a wiki page, as a semantic wiki page actually, so that everyone can contribute to it, can add information to it, and one main part of that is right here, the list of already existing hackerspaces. Since we did not work very long on the project until now, it is by far not complete. And by far, I mean by far, 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 by far. So every one of you who has a hackerspace or who's just on the go of building it should get to that page and add it to the list.
There's some members of the panel already complaining about it. They're not on the list.
Yeah, I'm really sorry. See,
But it's a wiki.
these are the only,
Yes,
these
it's a
are
wiki.
the
It's
only USA spaces
fast.
I have, and I know that this is by far not enough. But you're all here. You have the information. You should add the information. You should contribute to this page, not only to the list, of course, but also to everything else. So the second main point is unite, and what this means is you are sharing information, you're sharing your experiences within the hackerspace. This, of course, is about building hackerspaces. So you're sharing the information about what all these very clever people already said here, and by far more, because you have the experience and you can make others not fall into the same traps again, maybe. How do you do that? How could you pull that off? We have a mailing list. Here. Actually, it's two mailing lists. It's the discussion list and the announce list. While on the announce list, it's a moderated list. The discussion list shows all information that is passed, as well as everything that's on the announce list. So I would rather recommend to sign to the discussion list, so you can ask a question if you have one, and also read answers or send answers to that list. The other thing is we have a Jabber account, which is jabber.hackerspaces.org. I hope all of you know what Jabber is. It's an instant messenger tool. Yeah, I pretty much think you know what it is. So you can join this Jabber account. The cool thing about it is that when you join, you automatically have everyone that is already on the hackerspaces.org listed account, who has an account on the list, that automatically the whole list is added to your Jabber account. So you could pretty much find everyone who is signed to hackerspaces.org. Not pretty much, like, actually. And the last point that I want to make, and this goes as an applause to the Media Lab again, is that we made the Hackerspaces OS an open source project. So if you are in the go of building a hackerspace and want an OS, want a wiki page, want whatever, there is a Google document that can be downloaded for free. Yeah. I tend to think that that was everything I wanted to say, and I'm far over 2 minutes now, I guess.
That's okay, she's cute, she can get away with it.
Good. One more point. We're independent and we want you to spread the word. So, yeah. Go out with this cool thing, or send links or whatever. Spam other people, whatever. Thank you.
Huge round of applause for hackerspaces.org. All right, now, and actually, let's give while we're queuing up for questions, if anybody has any, let's give a huge round of applause to all these panelists for staying under 2 minutes largely.
Could we also get anybody in the audience who is a member of a hackerspace or regularly goes to events at a hackerspace to stand up for a second? Because it is a lot more than the people up here that are making this happen. I think it's a round of applause for everybody standing up out there.
Yo. And there is even one in Rhode Island. I always thought Rhode Island.
There are
I always
two
thought
in
Rhode Island is a
Croatia.
myth.
Holy crap! There's two in Croatia.
But we can also see there's a lot of room for improvement. Mike.
Oh, what Esther said is that there's a lot of room for improvement, especially if you have hackerspaces, contribute a lot of your shared knowledge to the hackerspaces.org wiki. If you are interested in figuring out how to build a hackerspace, we're going to be dumping all of our knowledge into this wiki. But for now, you can brain dump some knowledge. Does anybody have any questions out in the audience? Back there.
Can we get a live mic out there? If anything, move up to the front one. Hopefully that'll work.
Yeah, there's another one up there.
Where is it? Oh, there it is.
Okay.
So it's
Must
kind
be
of
like
a killjoy
$1.50
question,
in
but I wanted to
bottles.
ask for all of you who aren't as organized as the one in San Francisco, how do you deal with insurance and liability in case somebody gets hurt building a cannon?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear your question. Could you repeat it?
I said it's kind of a killjoy subject, but how do you deal with the issue of insurance and liability in case somebody gets hurt when you're doing slightly riskier things?
Yeah, that's actually not been a problem for us. I haven't been the one looking into insurance, but one of the people who's actively involved with NoiseBridge has done a lot of research with insurance companies, and all of them have had no problem at all with the word hacker, except for one. They said, oh, hackers, no way. But all the others, it's kind of surprising, but they're just hackers. What do you mean by hackers? And we tell them, well, we're a group of people, we have a whole bunch of projects, and we'll be doing stuff with chemistry and with electronics, and they don't care. We just pay a premium, and it's probably less than $2,000 a year, and we have full liability for the space that we'll rent, plus for liability for personal injury, and it's just a little bit more to protect the people on the board from personal liability in case there's any kind of lawsuit. So it's like $2,000 a year. It's not that big a deal.
Call insurance agents who will call you back. Next question.
I just wanted to point out that you don't actually have to start off big. I've been running a sort of a private hackerspace, if you will, for about 10 years now. It's gone back and forth between my house and my buddy's house. We have a few people over every Wednesday night, get together. We've got bandwidth servers, work on different projects throughout the course of the year. So even though I'm hearing these numbers of 100 people now just scare the heck out of me, trying to organize something, or even starting with 9 people, can I really get organized 9 people? I just encourage people too of, hey, maybe you get your first buddy over and they got a buddy and you start off with 2 or 3 people, and once you grow out of a house, then you look for the hackerspace.
Great. KK, next question. Your good point.
Not a statement, but a follow-up. With the liability, for whoever was asking that, I was involved with a build space in Portland, watershedpdx.com, if anyone's interested. But the way they got around that with their insurance is they're actually, through their insurance company, they are listed as a vocational school. So not only does this cover them for liability in the space, but if people are using tools and equipment on projects outside the space, they're still covered under the auspice of that liability insurance. So
Generally, a commercial general liability insurance policy would cover you using the space's tools if they were explicitly the space's tools.
right. So yeah, if tools are donated into the space.
But if they're like, say you have an inventory system for all of your tools, and tools are explicitly owned by the space or owned by the organization running the space, your commercial general liability or your directors and officers would cover liability for it being used outside the space. So, but I am not a lawyer. Look up the local laws. That's just Ontario.
In a whole different country, but generally the same thing, sort of, because Canada's not that different. Next question.
Okay, so I guess Hope kind of just added a bunch of steam to starting a hackerspace in Montreal, Canada. Yay. And I'm just wondering is there anyone else than Hugo Fortier and Geek Montreal that are into starting a hackerspace?
Yeah.
Throw a page up on the wiki and get in touch with everybody else that wants to.
And yeah, I totally missed Recon because I had no idea it
There's
happened.
a con